The train blew its whistle as it slowed into Deadwood Station, clouds of steam hissing into the evening air. Passengers pressed forward, merchants, hands, drifters, and one woman whose future had just been stolen from her. Her name was Clara Whitfield. The plan had never been hers. It was her sister's. Lilitha, beautiful one with blonde curls and a smile that melted men in church pews. Lila had been exchanging letters with a rancher out west, a man in need of a wife. But 2 weeks before leaving, Lila confessed with tears on her cheeks, "I can't do it. Clara, he wants a ranch wife, and I want the stage. The city lights, the life here. Please, you're steadier. You're braver. Please, go instead, just until I figure my way," Clara had protested. But the Whitfield family debt weighed heavy. Lila's pleading reminded her too much of years keeping her sister out of trouble. In the end, she had boarded that train wearing Lila's bonnet, carrying Lila's letters, and her heart hammering with both shame and fear. Would the rancher know? Would he send her back? She stepped onto the platform, her valise clutched tight, her shoes dusted with prairie dirt. And there he was, tall, broad, sunburnt from work in the fields. His eyes the color of worn leather, serious eyes, steady eyes. His name signed in every letter was *** Caleb Harding ***, but the instant his gaze fell on Clarinot, Lila, his expression shifted from expectation to stillness. And in that stillness was something she couldn't name. He tipped his hat. "Miss Whitfield?" Her throat tightened. She nodded, answering to her sister's name. "Yes, I." He studied her as though trying to memorize her face. And somehow, without meaning to, she whispered, "I'm not who you think. The rancher's choice they," rode in his wagon down the dirt track toward Harding Ranch. Silence clung heavy between them, broken only by the wheels crunching gravel. Finally, Caleb spoke. His voice was deep, warmed by a quiet patience. "You're not the woman that wrote me those letters, are you?" Clara's head jerked up. "Aye, what makes you say that?" He kept his eyes on the horses. "Those letters came from someone restless. Someone aching for freedom, but afraid to speak her mind. But you," he glanced at her then, and she felt the weight of it. "You're steady. Your gaze doesn't run from mine, and your words aren't hiding." Clara's cheeks burned. He didn't know the half of it. She tried to speak, lips trembling. "The truth is, it was supposed to be my sister." He waited. Just waited. No judgment, just a wide, empty space where her confession might fall. She lost courage. "I came instead. To spare her, and to spare our family from shame." The wagon jolted over a rut, but Caleb didn't flinch. Instead, he leaned back on the reins, voice even. "Then I suppose I should thank her." Clara blinked. "Thank her?" "Yes." He finally turned and held her gaze square. "Because when I looked at you on that platform, I knew whether you came by letter or by chance I was choosing you." Her breath caught. In that moment, her worst fear that he'd send her home shifted into something both more frightening and more thrilling. He wanted her asterisk, and beneath the vast Dakota sky. Clara's heart whispered the most dangerous thought of all. Asterisk, maybe this was destiny. Asterisk, a cabin called Home Harding Ranch wasn't grand a two-room cabin. Barn, rolling acres of prairie fenced with Caleb's sweat and grit. He worked as the land demanded, from sunup to past dark. Clara, humbled but determined, learned the rhythms quickly, baking bread before dawn, fetching water, driving calves along the fence lines. Her hands, soft in the city, grew calloused but proud. At night, they ate together by lamplight. At first in silence, then in fragments of conversation that stretched into laughter. She found herself smiling at his dry humor. "A cow's as stubborn as any banker I ever owed money to. Then you must be rich," she teased. "Not in cash. But in trouble? Yes." They never spoke of Lila. Not once. Caleb treated Clara as though she was the bride he'd been waiting for. No shadows cast by deception. And that was what tore at her most, the guilt. She had stepped in her sister's place. Yet every day she wanted less and less to give it back. The ghost of her sister one afternoon. 3 months into her new life, Clara found Caleb mending a fence post. His shirt damp with sweat, forearms corded with work. She brought him water, hands shaking. "Caleb, I need to ask you, do you ever wish it had been her? The woman in the letters?" He paused, straightened, searched her face. "I never wished it was anyone but you." Her chest swelled. But another voice haunted her, the voice of her sister. Still in some city street, laughing at suitors. What if Lila came back? What if she revealed the truth? That night Clara dreamt of a train steaming back into Deadwood. Her sister, stepping off, beautiful and brazen. Reaching for the man Clara had come to love, she woke in tears. The reckoning, and then the letter came, addressed to Caleb Harding and wife. Inside, neat cursive tore Clara's heart open. Asterisk, dearest sister. Asterisk, asterisk, life has not been kind. But I have thought of you every day since you left in my place. Soon, I intend to visit you at the ranch. There is much I need to confess. Asterisk, dash Lila. The world seemed to tilt around Clara as she read. The truth she had hidden, the fragile life she'd built, trembled on the edge of ruin. Caleb would see once and for all the deception, and Leela never did anything without leaving destruction in her wake. The return when Leela arrived. Everything Clara feared turned flesh and bone. She swept into the Harding cabin like a storm, her blonde curls pinned high, a dress of city green silk among the rough-hewn logs. "My darling sister," she cried, embracing Clara. Before her gaze slid like water over stone toward Caleb, "And you must be the rancher who's stolen Clara from us. My, you're even handsomer than your letters suggested." Clara's stomach churned. Her secret lived, trembling, on Lila's painted lips. For days Lila stayed, spinning tales of cities and suitors, her laughter filling the cabin. And Clara felt her own place shrinking, as though she'd borrowed a dress that never truly fit. Then one night, under a harvest moon, Lila cornered her outside the cabin door. "You love him, don't you?" Lila's smile was sharp. "Yes," Clara whispered. "Then perhaps it's time we tell him the truth, and see which sister he chooses." The confession. Clara entered the cabin that night, shaking, ready to confess everything before Lila could destroy it. Caleb looked up from the fire. "Caleb, I need to tell you who I really am." He set aside his work, patience steady in his eyes. She trembled under it. "I came in Lila's place. She was the one who wrote you the letters. She was the one you were meant to marry. I deceived you. I stole her seat on that train. I told myself it was for family, but the truth is I stayed because I love you. I love you so much. And if that ruins everything, I'll bear it." Silence. The longest silence of her life. Then Caleb stood, crossed the room, placed a rough hand against her cheek. "I knew." Her breath hitched. "You what?" "I knew the moment I saw you on that platform that you weren't the same spirit from those restless letters. But I didn't want her. I wanted you. I chose you, Clara, not a name on paper." Behind them the door creaked. Lila stood, her bright face paling. For once, she was silent. Clara whispered through tears, "You forgive me?" Caleb smiled faintly. "There's nothing to forgive. You're my wife. Always will be." The climax. But Lila wasn't ready to let go. The next morning she tried to lure Caleb with laughter, with tales of dances and suitors. Tried to remind him what life might have been with a woman full of city fire. Caleb listened, and finally said, "Lila, you don't know what you want. But I do. And what I want is Clara." Her smile faltered, eyes glistening. She was always the steady one. "And she broke off, sobbing. "I just thought for once I'd be chosen first." Clara ran to her, gathered her in her arms. "Leela, you'll find someone who sees asterisk you asterisk. But Caleb is mine, and I am his, and nothing will change that." At last, Lila clung to her sister, and for once, they did not quarrel. Redemption 1 month later. Lila left on the train again this time, not in Clara's place, but in her own. She had found work with a traveling troupe. Finally chasing her dream, Clara and Caleb stood on the platform watching her go. Lila leaned from the window, cheeks damp but smiling. "I'll write you, Clara, the real kind of letters this time, and you take care of him. Of your ranch, of your life." The whistle blew, the train roared away, and Clara felt something ease from her chest. Caleb framed her face with his hands. "So now truly will you believe me when I say I chose you forever?" She trembled, then laughed through tears. Yes. He kissed her there on the platform, under the wide, endless sky. Under the western sky, years passed. The Harding Ranch grew. Children's laughter filled the cabin where once silence and guilt had lived. Clara's hands, once soft, had become the hands of a ranch wife strong. Tender, unashamed. Sometimes when the sun set over golden pastures, she found herself whispering gratitude. For her sister's fear, for her own courage, for a man who had looked past lies to find a truth stronger than any paper promise. Clara Whitfield Harding, once the second choice, once the substitute, now knew the truth, written into every blade of prairie grass. Love is not about contracts or letters. It is about the choice you make each day. Under the endless western sky, and Caleb Harding had chosen her forever. The years of plenty and the test of fire. Harding Ranch did not just survive. It began to thrive. Seasons rolled on with both hardship and harvest, and Clara stood at Caleb's side through all of it. She had come west, a trembling shadow of her sister and of her own doubts. But now she was the heart of the ranch, steady, unyielding. Warm as a hearth fire in winter, they had 2 sons and a daughter, each one chasing chickens through the yard, laughing like the wind across the prairie. Sometimes Clara would sit with Caleb on the porch after a long day, her head resting against his shoulder, and whisper, "Can you believe it? That train station where I first feared telling you the truth, and now this." But the frontier never promised peace without cost. The summer of 1881, the prairie caught fire. A careless spark, maybe a lightning strike, no one knew for certain. One July afternoon, thunderclouds rolled, yet the air was so dry, the heavens rained sparks instead of water. By evening, a wall of flame roared across Harding lands. Caleb shouted orders, his voice cutting through the chaos. "Ditch the line. Bring water. Drive the cattle north. Keep them clear." Clara carried the children to the creek, her skirts soaked and soaked again as she flung water onto the cabin walls to keep sparks from catching. Her oldest boy, only 10, begged, "Mama, let me help." She kissed his forehead through the smoke. "You are helping. Guard your brother and sister, and never let go." Through the haze, she glimpsed Caleb, a lone figure driving cows with nothing but his rope and grit, flames leaping like demons behind him. "Caleb," she screamed, her throat raw with smoke. And for a split second, she feared the life they'd built. The dream that finally felt fully hers would vanish into fire. But he turned, lifting a soot-streaked arm in signal. Asterisk, "I'm alive. Keep holding on." Asterisk that night. By some grace of God, the fire broke at the river boundary. The house was scarred, the land blackened, cattle skittish, but alive. All of them alive. When the danger passed, Caleb walked to Clara and held her. His breath was ragged, his shirt burned at one shoulder, but his arms were unyielding, you see. He whispered in her ear, "I told you once, I chose you forever. Fire won't change it. Loss won't change it. Nothing will." Her tears mingled with the soot on her cheeks, and she realized this latest test had burned away the last ashes of doubt in her soul, the letter that finally came the next spring. As the prairie mended itself in green, Clara received a letter. The script was familiar, bright, and flowing, the loops of someone who once thought life was too small for her. Asterisk, "Dearest Clara, asterisk, asterisk, I am safe. I married an actor in Denver, of all things. He plays a scoundrel each night, but when the curtain falls, he is only mine. We are happy. I wanted you to know I never stopped loving you, though I nearly broke what we had with jealousy. Forgive me. Asterisk, asterisk, tell Caleb I am grateful 100 times over that he saw you when all I ever saw was myself. Fate is strange, isn't it? We each found what we were searching for, though in ways we never expected. Asterisk, asterisk your sister forever, Lila. Asterisk Clara read it aloud to Caleb as they rocked on the porch. He listened in silence, then kissed her temple. There, he said softly, now she's found her place. And you not beyond any doubt that this life was meant to be yours. She pressed the letter to her chest, smiling through tears. I never doubted your choice, Caleb, but sometimes ... I doubted my worth. It feels now as if the Lord himself confirmed it. Caleb leaned close, his voice low, steady, the kind of steady that built fences in storms and led men through fire. Clara Harding, you've been worth it since the moment you stepped onto that platform. Sister, substitute, or stranger, it didn't matter. That was the day my life began. The endless sky years rolled into decades. Children grew tall, filled their boots, took on their own lives and loves. The prairie softened for Clara in her later years where, once she saw only wildness and loneliness. Now she saw memory, each acre stitched with pieces of her heart. One autumn evening, silver streaked her hair, and Caleb's hands were more worn than before. They sat together side by side, their porch facing the same sunset that had once greeted her on her arrival years ago. The sky blazed gold, rose, and violet, rolling vast over the earth just as it had the first time. Caleb had told her, asterisk, I choose you. Asterisk, and as the stars pricked through the wide western dark, Clara whispered, it was worth it, wasn't it? Every hardship, every fire, every secret. To come to this? Caleb smiled, his arm around her shoulders. It was worth it the moment I saw you. All the years since have just been the proof. The sound of younger voices' grandchildren rose in the distance. The ranch was alive, fuller than she had ever dreamed. And Clara, who had once boarded a train in fear and shame, sat under the endless sky with the man who had turned her second-chance life into forever. Asterisk, asterisk, ending. Reflection, asterisk, asterisk, this was the story of Clara, the girl who came in her sister's place, afraid she was never enough, and of Caleb, the rancher who chose her in truth. Not because she was the expected bride, but because he saw what no one else had ever seen, her worth. Together, they built a life out of deception turned into devotion, fear turned into fire-tested faith, and longing turned into a love that outlasted everything the storms. The years, even the shadows of lies, under the wide western sky. Their names Caleb and Clara Harding would be spoken for generations, not as the couple who began with secrets, but as the two who chose each other every day, forever. Would you like me to expand this final section into more vignettes of their middle life, their children's milestones? The way Clara founded something lasting for other women like her, or leave it perfectly sunset, bound as it is, the emotional echo of completion. The circle of forgiveness spring returned to the Harding Ranch, green and gentle after the fire's black scars. New calves tottered in the pastures, wild roses bloomed along the creek, and hope fragile but real struck into the soil again, much like Clara herself years earlier. But with spring came something Clara never expected. A stagecoach squealing down their dirt road, a familiar figure stepping off in a swirl of travel dust and nervous energy. Leela Clara froze where she stood on the porch. Caleb beside her stiffened. The children, wide-eyed, whispered, Mama, is that Aunt Leela? Lila's hair was dulled by city life now, her cheeks slimmer, her frame wrapped in a traveling cloak that had seen too many tavern benches. But her eyes, bright, searching, more hesitant now than bold, rested squarely on Clara. Clara, she said softly, I had to see you before I disappeared again. The sisters stood facing each other in the dusty yard. Years of betrayal, guilt, and unspoken words trembling in the air. At last, Clara whispered, Why now? Lila's voice cracked. because for the first time in years, I realized I have nothing. No stage curtain, no applause, no family except you. And the man I once almost tried to steal. Her gaze flicked toward Caleb and fell, shame heavy in her eyes. Caleb's steady voice cut through the silence. This is Clara's home, Lila. Not yours to take, but never close to you. He looked at his wife then, not her sister. It's your choice. Clara's heart pounded. Old wounds begged her to slam the door. But Caleb's words from long ago returned, about scars not meaning ruin, about strength being the willingness to face what hurt and still love. She thought of how he saw her, of how she had healed because one man chose forgiveness. Could she choose the same for her sister? She stepped forward, closing the space between them, her voice breaking. Lila, you hurt me, more than you ever knew. But you're my sister, and I would rather forgive than spend another day carrying bitterness. For the first time. Lila didn't smile or barter with charm. She just sobbed. Great. Heaving relief and fell into Clara's arms. The children cheered softly, their innocence turning the moment into a celebration rather than a burden. Caleb laid a hand on Clara's shoulder. His silent strength, steady in her choice. Lila would not stay longer restless. Soul was shaped differently, but that brief season on the Harding Ranch healed something between them both. By the time Lila boarded another stagecoach bound for Denver, she left not in rivalry, but in reconciliation.